After the brief cool down in the eastern U.S., we're asking, where's the cold? The latest on the tropics and your 7-day forecast next at the Weather Farm. In this video, we are going to ask 3 questions and hopefully provide answers for you. Where is the cold and snow happening in the United States right now? What's going on down in the tropics with Invest 94L? And what's going to happen with our weather for the rest of October? Will it be a trick or will it be a treat? So let's jump right in by looking at the national hazards. Again, we see a lot of purple on this map, and that's indicative of freeze warnings across Indiana and Ohio into Kentucky into parts of Pennsylvania. Across the plains, we have high wind warnings and also down along the Louisiana coast. But looking across Wyoming into Idaho and into parts of Utah, we see winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories and winter storm watches. That's where we expect snowfall over the next 48 hours to begin, leading into our Saturday. Even embedded in those could be a couple of blizzard warnings in those higher elevations in those mountain passes where the wind gusts can be 35 miles per hour or greater. So let's look at that northwest and let's see what's going to happen. Maybe this is going to be our area where we're going to find the cold beginning to take hold. And we see the burst that's coming this coming weekend. So we see temperatures around 10 degrees, 15 degrees in western Wyoming near Yellowstone this coming weekend, but then the temperatures quickly warm into next week. And we see temperatures 40s and 50s and some 60s. It was 80s in parts of Montana today, in fact. And so we don't really see the cold taking hold here, so whatever snow falls is probably going to be gone pretty quickly. And it's not until Halloween that we start to see that pattern change. And if we take a look at our snowfall map, again, think about what we were talking about last night. We were talking about a widespread 6 to 8 inches of snow across parts of western Wyoming. This particular map is now wanting to show a general 1 to 3 inches, maybe heavier amounts toward Yellowstone where you could see 5, 6, or 7 inches of snow. Heavy snows across Colorado. But if you want to go back and take a look and see what's changed from last night to tonight, you can click on this video and we will talk about what we talked about last night. And so other than this area, we don't see a lot of snowfall happening across the continental United States over the next 7 days. In fact, we have to go all the way up into British Columbia to find other areas of snowfall where in those mountainous regions they could see 30, 40, or 50 inches of snow. Other snowfall exists way far north, parts of Manitoba and Saskatchewan into far northern Ontario. You could see a few inches of snow as well over the next 7 days. So let's look at that upper air chart. Again, that ridge is building to the east as the cold air moves out. We have the system that's moving into the Rockies over the weekend. It kind of gets cut off from the main jet stream, so it spins here in the Four Corners region as an upper level low. Eventually, it does get picked up and absorbed into the zonal flow that builds from west to east into next week. Here in Indiana, it is going to maybe cause our temperatures to dip a few degrees early next week. But again, the main pattern for next week is going to be that west to east flow. Pretty moderate temperatures for most of the United States. So no real signs of cold. We start to look at that last weekend of October. We start to see another trough digging across the west. But it's not an intense trough. And so, the warmth builds right back in. As we look east, towards Halloween, we see a cold shot for the eastern half of the United States, but then to begin November, the warmth builds right back again. And again, we see this with our weather pattern. No real area of precipitation across the United States except for that snowfall this coming weekend across the Northwest. So we can't find the cold, we can't find snowy weather. Let's answer the second question that we talked about at the beginning of this video. What's going on in the tropics? So we have Invest 94L, which has a 30% chance of development over the next 48 hours. Another system we're watching off the Western Caribbean has about a 20% chance of development. It is Invest 94L that has the better of the two chances, but even at 7 days, it only has a 40% chance of developing into a tropical system. It's kind of running into a couple of problems. So right now where it's at, while it's in a warm sea surface temperature environment with temperatures around 30, 31 degrees Celsius, it is encountering a lot of dry air. So it's not really being able to feed in that moist environment that's going to help build the storm. And then as it moves further west, it's going to run into an area of increased wind shear. And that wind shear, if we remember, as the storm happens, that wind shear knocks the tops off of those thunderstorms. So as the storm tries to rise in the center of the storm, the wind shear helps knock those thunderstorms off and inhibits its development. So a couple of things working against it. This area in the Western Caribbean is expected just to meander to the north and northwest and affect parts of Central America and not really pose any threats to the United States at this time. So we didn't find anything down here in the tropics, so let's jump to the top of the world, and we're going to look here at Alaska. Maybe this is where our cold air is. And we see that even into next week, temperatures here are going to be about 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 10 to 15 degrees above normal for this time of the year. You look into Yukon, into the Northwest Territories, into Nunavut. Here on Banks Island at Sachs Harbor, we see temperatures generally 15, 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is well above normal for this time of the year. It's not until we get towards Halloween that we start to see that cold air building across Siberia, where temperatures are dropping to minus 20, minus 30 degrees by Halloween in the first parts of November. So we're just going to be patient and wait for this cold air to make its way across the top of the world into Canada and down into the United States to start to see that colder, snowier pattern especially for the northern plains, which it does tend to happen at this time of the year. So we're just going to have to be a little bit patient on that. And we see this being played out as we look at our 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. So when we look at that outlook map, we see most of the United States is above average on temperatures. And while we are above normal for that 8 to 14 days for that last full week of October in precipitation, most of this is going to fall in the form of rain across most of the United States. Now across the mountainous west, yes, there could be the snow in those higher elevations, but for the most part, where we should start to be building that snowpack across Montana, the Dakotas into northern Minnesota, we're not seeing the cold air to be in place to do that. So let's take our look back a little bit closer to home, and let's look at our current conditions. Here at the 10 o'clock hour, we have current temperature of 37 degrees under clear skies and calm winds. And actually, when I just look at our station, our weather station here in the studio, we've actually dropped down to 36 degrees. It's a product of those calm winds. It allows the temperatures to quickly drop in the evening under those clear skies. If we look around our 4-county region, we see also the temperatures have generally dropped into those mid 30s across most of our 4-county region. We have a 34 here in southeastern Montgomery County. Up in Boone County, up at Ulen, you're sitting at 35 degrees. It's a great golf course, by the way. Brownsburg, you're at 39. Avon, you're at 38 degrees. Again, temperatures will generally fall into the upper 20s to near 30 degrees overnight. That's why we have the freeze warnings in place. Taking a look at our daily almanac, we had a high temperature of 56 degrees. As I just mentioned, our low is now 36 degrees for the day. We've dropped below our morning low of 37. No precipitation today. Our monthly total sits at 6/100ths of an inch. For your Thursday, October 17th, the sun will rise at 7:59. Sun will set at 7:02. And if we take a look around the region at the top of the 10 o'clock hour, Indianapolis, you were at 42. Lafayette, you were at 40. Terre Haute, 41. Most of those outlying areas were already falling into the 30s. In fact, up in Jasper County, in the city of Rensselaer, you've already fallen to 32 degrees. So again, here at the weather farm for tonight, we do expect a low temperature to be at 30 degrees under mainly clear skies. There will be a few high clouds that move in and out of the area. They shouldn't inhibit the temperature from falling too much. It should still fall down to about 30 degrees, maybe a 29 here and there. Winds will be generally calm out of the northwest at 0 to 5 miles per hour. So if we take a look at our temperature over the next 72 hours, again tonight, Indianapolis, you're going to go to 40. Muncie, you're going to be at 35. Fort Wayne, 33. And as we look to our Thursday, temperatures are generally going to rebound into the upper 50s to near 60. The further east you go, the further cooler it's going to be. Lexington at 58, Dayton at 58. Tomorrow night will be a few degrees warmer, probably low 30s here for the weather farm, 38 in Indianapolis. We start to get on the backside of that high pressure, so the winds will switch around to the southeast and eventually from the south. It's going to warm us to 65 on Friday and 66 up in Lafayette. And our weekend looks gorgeous. You know, our Saturday, if you have any plans to go to the pumpkin patch or a bonfire, 68 degrees here in Indianapolis and 69 up in Lafayette for the big game against Oregon on Saturday. So let's take a look at our 7-day forecast here for the weather farm. Again, as I mentioned, 30 tonight, 60 tomorrow, 63 on Friday, 69 on Saturday. We enter the low 70s and we stay there for most of early next week before a cool down toward the end of next week brings our temperatures from the 70s back down into the 60s, which is more seasonal for this time of the year. We hope you've enjoyed your time here at the Weather Farm, and we hope if you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Hey friends, thank you for joining us here. Please check out our other videos that we have here for your enjoyment. We post them almost daily here. And also, if you like the content that you see, go ahead and click that subscribe button. That way you're notified of when we go live, when we have new content added, or when there's new information that we want to share with you. We hope to see you again real soon.